Chapter 35, The Seven Kingdoms. From the interpretation given by Daniel regarding Nebuchadnezzar's forgotten dream, we understand that the words a kingdom and king can be used interchangeably and be treated as synonymous. In Daniel 2nd chapter 30th verse, Daniel tells Nebuchadnezzar, "You are the head of gold." We know that the golden head also refers to the Babylonian Empire. So the golden head means both the Babylonian kingdom and its founder, King Nebuchadnezzar. This is the reason I have been saying that the seven heads of the beast in Revelation 17 can mean both the seven kingdoms and the kings who established those kingdoms. The angel told John in Patmos that five kings had already fallen before the time of writing the Apocalypse. Now, we have to understand that from the biblical perspective, only those kings and kingdoms who conquered and ruled Israel are considered to be important in God's sight. From this point of view, Babylon is the first kingdom we have to recognize as the kingdom that ruled over Israel. Then the Medo Persian and Greek kingdoms to have conquered and influenced Israel. Then we have Rome. According to the angel's interpretation, Rome is the sixth kingdom. Before Rome, there must be five kingdoms. We could so far identify only three kingdoms before Rome. We need to find two more kingdoms that ruled and influenced the nation of Israel. What are the other two kingdoms that had a great deal to do with the nation Israel before Rome? The nation of Israel was under Egypt for 400 years. The true history of Israel as a nation begins with Egypt. Then we have Assyria during the reign of King Rehoboam. The kingdom of Israel split into two kingdoms, Israel and Judah. When God's people became disobedient, God sent the people of both kingdoms into captivity. God's people in the kingdom of Judah were sent into Babylonian captivity, and the people in the kingdom of Israel were sent into captivity under Assyria. Now, we know the five kingdoms that conquered and influenced Israel before Rome. The list of nations that form the final confederation are as follows: Egypt, Babylonia, Assyria, Medo Persia, Greek Rome, Confederate Kingdom of 10 nations. Now we must identify the king who was an important person in the first five kingdoms, who comes back into the world and becomes the eighth king and goes into prediction. If you observe the five kingdoms that existed before Rome, both the Babylonian and Assyrian kingdoms were founded by Nimrod. Please see Genesis 10 chapter 10 to 11 verses. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Asgard, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land he went into Assyria and built Nineveh. We know that Babel evolved into Babylonian Empire, and Nineveh was the capital city of Assyria. So Nimrod is the founder of both the Babylonian and the Assyrian kingdoms. Nimrod is the king who was one among the five kingdoms, and shall become the eighth one when he returns to earth from the bottomless pit and goes into eternal destruction. The seven kingdoms are Babylon, Assyria, Egypt, Medo Persian, Greek, Roman, and the revived Confederate Roman Empire. These are the seven important nations that join hands with three other insignificant countries and form the 10 nation confederation to form the global government. The ancient Assyrian kingdom today falls into two countries, Syria and northern Iraq. It is possible that one of these two countries will not be the member of the confederation initially, but will try to join the confederation at a later stage as the 11th horn and will become the leader of the global government. Thus, the prophecy of the Holy Scriptures, as for the beast that was and is not, it is an eighth, but belongs to the seven. At it goes to destruction, shall be fulfilled. The mystery of seven hills. This calls for a mind with wisdom. The seven heads are seven mountains on which the woman is seated. There are also seven kings. These verses clearly declare that there are two meanings or two applications to the metaphor of seven hills. So far in this book, we have seen that seven hills are seven kingdoms and their founders. That is true, but that's not all. Seven hills represent something else. They symbolize and represent the seven hills on which the harlot mystery Babylon sits. Who or what is this mystery Babylon? John saw her name written on her forehead, and upon her forehead was a name written Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. What is harlotry? What is whoredom? It is a woman becoming unfaithful to her legitimate husband and giving herself up to other men. What is spiritual whoredom? Isaiah 54:5 tells us, your maker is your husband. The creator is the husband of the whole creation. So, every intelligent person must worship and serve only the creator. Worshipping any other person or power shall become spiritually adultery, spiritual fornication, and spiritual whoredom. Every person who is worshipping someone or something other than the creator is committing spiritual whoredom. Where did this spiritual adultery begin in this world? When did mankind begin to worship someone other than the true God? We know the answer. The worship of a false God began for the first time at the Tower of Babel. Nimrod was the first one to declare to be God and worthy of worship. That is the beginning of spiritual whoredom on earth. That is why the name written on the forehead of the great Broher mentions that she is Babylon, the mother of prostitutes. After mankind was scattered from the Tower of Babel, many false religions were formed all over the world in every country and civilization. Everyone thinks God is the real God, but we, the Bible believing the Christians, know that except the God of the Bible, every other God is a false God. The Bible calls the worship of any other so called deity other than the triune God of the Bible spiritual whoredom, prostitution. All the spiritual prostitution began undoubtedly at Babel, and it is quite reasonable that the Bible calls Babylon the mother of harlots. Up to this point, there is nothing enigmatic. The identity of the harlot is very clear, but the second application of the seven hills makes the identity of the harlot rather complicated and enigmatic. The scripture tells us that this prostitute is sitting on seven mountains. This undoubtedly points towards Rome. Rome is built upon seven mountains. Undoubtedly, the woman presented here in the seventh chapter of Revelation mm, refers to Rome. The woman you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. Which city was ruling the kings of the earth at the time of writing of the book of Revelation? We know that Rome was ruling while John was receiving the revelation. It is as clear as daylight that the Lord is pointing towards Rome and calling her Babylon. How can Rome be Babylon? The spirit of the spiritual prostitution that began its diabolical work at the Tower of Babel has been relentlessly working throughout human history, creating many false religions, and finally shall conclude its work in Rome at the end of the age. It is very interesting to note that all the nations in the end time confederation are Arab nations and Islamic. The site of the Tower of Babel is also now in Iraq. It is also interesting and intriguing to notice that the statues of Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz worshipped at Babel look exactly like the statues of Joseph, Mary, and baby Jesus being worshipped in Roman Catholicism today. The Antichrist will reject and abolish every religion to establish a new religion of his own and force everyone to accept this new religion. This new religion will be a blend of Islam and Roman Catholicism. So, the spirit of spiritual prostitution that began its work at Babel will find its fullest expression and manifestation at Rome in the end time. Rome will be the old headquarters of the new religion founded by the Antichrist. This is the reason the city of Rome shall be called the Babylon of end time, and this calls for a mind with wisdom. The two centers of Antichrist administration. The Antichrist, the reincarnation of Nimrod, will have two administrative centers to control the whole world. One is a center for political administration, and other one is a center for religious administration. In all probability, the center for political administration will be in Iraq, where Nimrod first established his kingdom. President Saddam Hussein declared himself as the modern Nebuchadnezzar and pledged to bring back the glory of ancient Babylon to Iraq. Obsessed with this desire, in the 1980s, Saddam Hussein even attempted to rebuild the ancient city of Babel on the every foundations laid by Nimrod. This project of rebuilding Babel was stopped abruptly because Saddam tried to encroach upon Kuwait and had to face a war within the multinational armies and finally was killed. It is possible that Iraq will be rebuilt Babel and complete the project started by Saddam Hussein. Something will be built in Iraq which will become a center for the Antichrist administration. About this, we can be sure because the Bible prophesied it. Zechariah 5th chapter 11th verse tells us that they are building a house for Epah. They will keep the Epah when the house is built up. Epah is an ancient Hebrew measure used for business. Zechariah tells us they are building this house for business in the land of Shinar. We know Iraq is the land of Shinar. Why are they building a house for business in Iraq? Because the Antichrist will control everyone by controlling business in the world. People will not be able to buy or sell anything without the mark of the beast on their foreheads or right hands. People will obey Antichrist because they need food. Secondly, Antichrist has a new religion in which Satan is worshipped and even Antichrist himself is worshipped. Rome will be the center and main headquarters for this religion. Now, a major question arises: why will all the people of the world leave their own religions and gods to believe in this new religion? There is another important person who will be the reason for the successful establishment of the new religion, and he is